order and to prevent the spread of COVID, the city is conducting this meeting remotely. We have provided options to the public through telephone, internet, or other means of remote access, and also provided the ability for persons not attending this meeting in person to hear each other at the same time. So with that, if you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a published agenda. Are there any amendments to this evening's agenda? Councilmember Clausen.
I would like to add to the consent agenda, excuse Councilmember Diener for business reasons.
Okay, and you're having some bandwidth issues there, Mr. Clausen, but we caught that, and I have a second by Councilmember Lucarelli.
Second.
And any discussion of that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Hearing none, Councilmember Diener has been added to the consent agenda. His excusal to the extended consent agenda for business reasons. Any other proposed amendments this evening? We didn't quite get to Q. We only got to N for business items. All right, is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Mayor, move to approve the amended agenda.
Second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Rosenpepe to approve the consent agenda and a second by Councilmember Clausen. Any comments or questions about the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been set for tonight. We have our first citizen comment period, and it's for any items on the agenda. I see no one as an attendee. So based on the fact that I don't have anybody in the waiting room, I will close the first citizen comment period, but we have a second one later in the meeting. We are to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Clausen, a second by Councilmember Lucarelli to approve the amended consent agenda. Is there anyone have any questions about the consent items? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent items, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
You're opposed, or you were just late? Councilmember Clausen, that vote came in late. Was that for in favor? I assume you can nod your head. Yes, thank you. All right. Might have to resort to hand signals tonight. All right, we are to our business items. The first of which is item A, adoption of an ordinance amending the 2021-2022 biennial budget and Exhibit A salary table. Mr. Crocker, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Business item 7A reflects the biennial budget amendments that we discussed last week at the study session. I do want to turn your attention to page 2 of the staff report, item number 9, Exhibit A. And in there, we discussed adding 1 FTE of a project coordinator inspector position for the Public Works Department. So that is now reflected in this budget document, which was not included in last week's study session. So I did want to point that out. You can also identify that in the red-lined salary Exhibit A table. It's page 20 of 221 in your packet. You can see there that we are clearly identifying the project coordinator inspector position being added, as well as the 2 additional patrol officers. So with that, over the last week, I have not received any additional questions. The net effect of this budget adjustment increases expenditure authority by $1,010,539 amongst all the funds. And staff would recommend that we move forward and approve this budget amendment.
Further questions, or is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, if I could do it without hand signals, I would move to adopt an ordinance amending the 2021-2022 biennial budget, including Exhibit A as adopted by ordinance number 035-20 and as amended.
Second.
Councilmember Clausen, we heard you loud and clear this time. And you made a motion, and Councilmember Rose Pepe seconded that. On the second, the Public Works position, while that wasn't part of the presentation that Noah made, we did talk about it at the Finance Committee last week, and then also brought it up at the meeting later in the meeting at the work study. So it's not like we didn't talk about it, just wasn't part of the initial presentation because it hadn't been to the Finance Committee yet. So, and, you know, while that number of $1 million is staggering, we know that we need to have the authority to post the positions. It is not our intent to hire all of those positions. It's about getting caught up and starting those hiring processes. It's not at least not funding those positions that if we hired them all tomorrow, which won't happen. If we did, we know we have 2 retirements coming up and later this year that will be actually happen probably by mid-year. So we have to have the authority, your authority to post those positions and start those hiring processes. So that's really what this is about. Clear as mud.
Yeah, and just to clarify, the $1,010,000 that I referenced was the net effect of all the budget amendments. So that is not the 2 personnel positions. I just want to be clear about that.
That's good information, because that's the way I took it. Was $1 million for 3 people, and I'm going, wow. All right, thank you for that clarification, Noah. All right. Be voting on the adoption of an ordinance amending the 2021-22 biennial budget and Exhibit A salary table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance passes. We'll move on to item B, adoption of an ordinance authorizing the position of project coordinator inspector. Ms. Lund.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This is the corresponding item to the position that was just briefly mentioned, the project coordinator inspector position in our Public Works Engineering Department. As you know, with the substantial growth and development, existing staff is struggling to balance the workload demands of multiple simultaneous projects. In particular, the engineering division has several high visibility and important projects regarding city infrastructure that need more attention than current staff has available. Staff's recommendation, therefore, to City Council is the approval of a position of project coordinator inspector that will expand the Public Works Division's capacity to deliver city projects and support other aspects of the engineering team's work by allowing existing staff members to focus on their primary functions. So this request is approval of the basic components of the job description, and the mayor and staff will work to flesh out the remaining portions of the job description so we could post this position if you so approve.
Any one of you, go ahead.
Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance authorizing the creation of a new position titled Project Coordinator Inspector and establishing general qualifications, duty, and authorizing the mayor to develop the job description consistent with the ordinance.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Rose Pepe, a second by Councilmember Clausen. You have any questions about this job description? Councilmember Clausen, go ahead.
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to comment, not question, but just to let the rest of the council know that this position was discussed at the last finance committee meeting at length, and the committee was in favor of moving forward with this position.
We were just talking this evening, Mr. Dorsey and I, and where we're going to put this body and how we're going to share spaces.
Clock tower, right?
Yeah, there's a problem with that. So we got to figure it out though. So we're just have to shuffle deck chairs a little bit. So, all right, any other questions? And thank you for that comment, Councilmember Clausen. You'll be voting on the adoption of an ordinance authorizing the position of project coordinator inspector. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance passes. We're to item C, adoption of an ordinance approving a contract with Kitsap County Department of Human Resources Cdbg program for the Lippert Avenue Sidewalk Retrofit Project. Mr. Dorsey, this is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. By the July 23rd, 2021 application deadline for the Kitsap County Department of Human Services Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG program, the city's Public Works Department applied for grant funding for the Lippert Avenue Sidewalk Retrofit Project. On March 24th, 2021, the city was officially notified that the Lippert Avenue Sidewalk Retrofit Project was approved by the Board of Kitsap County Commissioners for CDBG grant funding and would be included within the final 2021 Kitsap County Action Plan to the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. On December 13th, 2021, an environmental review for activity assessment for the project was completed by the Kitsap County Department of Human Resources and provided to HUD on February 2nd, 2022. The city of Port Orchard received the agency service agreement, community development block grant number KC CFDA 14.218 for the Lippert Avenue Sidewalk Retrofit Project, which is Ordinance 004-22 or Exhibit A attached, with a summary of the terms and conditions as follows. The maximum grant amount is $254,350. Time for performance is January 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. And the fund source is the CDBG HUD funding, which is federal funding and a pass-through through the county. By this action, the City Council will authorize the acceptance of the grant funding. Project expenditures will be submitted for separate council approval in accordance with the city's procurement policies. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt ordinance number 004-22, thereby authorizing the mayor to execute contract number C034-22, which is CDBG number KC CFDA 14.218, with the Kitsap County Department of Human Services for the Lippert Avenue Sidewalk Retrofit Project in the grant amount of $254,350. And I will point out that this grant award will be added to the local funding that's already been included for the project.
Total project's about 600 and change, isn't it, Mark?
600, and we're going to use the grant for the capital improvement projects for the sidewalks. We'll use the maintenance funding for the roadway, and then storm drainage. Utility will kick in some of the storm drainage.
So we'll be able to check off one of our failed residential streets that will now be completely repaved. So is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt ordinance number 004-22, authorizing the mayor to execute contract number C034-22, which is a CDBG number KC-CFDA number 14.218 with Kitsap County Department of Human Services for the Lippert Avenue Sidewalk Retrofit Project in the grant amount of $254,350.
Second.
Motion by
Easy for me
Councilmember
to
Clausen. And a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Any questions of staff? Okay, you'd be voting on the Lippert Street improvements and the grant associated with that with the Kitsap County Department of Human Resources. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance has been approved. We're to item D, adoption of a resolution granting an easement to the city of Bremerton for the McCormick Village Water Park facilities. Mr. Dorsey?
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, council members. On February 20th, 2014, South Kitsap Fire and Rescue granted a permanent easement and utility easement to the city of Port Orchard for the purpose of constructing, operating, and maintaining a shared permanent entry road and underground utility services as needed and in association with the pending McCormick Park Development Project. As part of the 2014 McCormick Village Park Development Project, an 8-inch water distribution main and fire hydrant serving the project was constructed within the permanent utility easement mentioned above and on city-owned property. On November 21st, 2019, the city of Port Orchard and the city of Bremerton entered into an interlocal agreement C077-19 for the purchase and sale of assets within the 580 zone, within Port Orchard's 580 zone. Thereby, one of the conditions of the agreement required the existing 8-inch water distribution main and fire hydrant serving McCormick Village Park within the city of Bremerton's water retail service area, which is everything north of Old Clifton Road, to be conveyed to the city of Bremerton in accordance with the Kitsap County Coordinated Water System Plan. By this resolution, the city council would authorize the mayor to execute a 15-foot wide perpetual easement for water utilities to effectuate the terms of the city's ILA within the city of Bremerton. Staff recommends adoption of resolution number 019-22, thereby authorizing the mayor to grant a 15-foot wide perpetual easement for water utilities to the city of Bremerton for the McCormick Village Park water facilities located on city-owned property.
Councilmember Lucarelli.
I move to adopt resolution number 019-22, authorizing the mayor to grant a 15-foot wide perpetual easement for water utilities to the city of Bremerton for the McCormick Village Park water facilities located on city-owned property.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Lucarelli and a second by Councilmember Chang. Any questions about this easement? Hearing none. All in favor of granting this easement to the city of Bremerton, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The resolution passes unanimously. We're to item E, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with Murray Smith, Inc. for the 2023 General Sewer Plan update for the city's sanitary sewer system and documenting procurement procedures.
This is mine again.
It is yours again.
On January 13th, 2022, the city's Public Works Department selected 3 qualified firms from the current MRSC professional services roster for main category engineering services and the subcategory of sewer system planning and design for the 2023 General Sewer Plan or GSP update. By January 18, 2022, the Public Works staff reviewed and scored the statement of qualifications and notified Murray Smith that they were selected as the most qualified for the GSP update. On January 20th, 2022, Public Works staff met with Murray Smith to clarify the project scope. And on February 7th, 2022, the city received a viable scope and budget in the amount not to exceed $117,272 for the 2023 General Sewer Plan update for the city's sewer system plan. Would note that funding for this is we've allocated $100,000 within the 2021-2022 biennial budget. We worked with Murray Smith on a number of items to reduce the scope down considerably to get it down to the $117,000 level. And that's as low as that we could go. So with that, staff recommends adoption of resolution number 011-22, thereby authorizing the mayor to execute contract number C029-22 with Murray Smith, Inc. in the amount of $117,272 for the 2023 General Sewer Plan update for the city's sanitary sewer system and documenting the procurement procedures. And when this plan is done, then it'll go into Development Director Bond's 2024 comp plan update adopted by reference.
Okay. Councilmember Chang, I see your hand raised.
I move to adopt resolution number 11-22, authorizing the mayor to execute contract number C2922 with Murray Smith Inc. in the amount of $117,272 for the 2023 general sewer plan update for the city's sanitary sewer system and documenting procurement procedures.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Chang, a second by Councilmember Lucarelli. Any questions of Mr. Dorsey about this matter? Not hearing any. He'd be voting to approve a contract with Murray Smith Inc. for the general sewer plan update. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the contract has been approved. We're to item F, adoption of a resolution establishing a referral incentive program for current staff members. Ms. Lund.
Thank you, Mayor. This item was discussed at last week's work study session. The staff's recommendation to adopt a resolution to establish a referral incentive program for current employees. Other than employees whose job it is to recruit, such as myself, or those making the hiring recommendation and decision, staff is proposing a financial incentive of $1,000 to current employees who make the first contact with a successful applicant for a position. One half payable at the applicant's time of hire and the other half payable at the applicant's completion of probation. Program would be available on a per recruitment basis only when designated as eligible by the mayor. Factors include a variety of things, essentially resulting in how difficult we anticipate the recruitment to be, the labor market at the time, and those kinds of things. That is all spelled out for you in a proposed policy that's attached as Exhibit 1 to the resolution, which would authorize the mayor to implement the program and sign any necessary paperwork with the unions to allow union members to be eligible for the incentive as well.
Is anyone willing to make a motion? Councilmember Rosepepe.
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution establishing a referral incentive program for city staff.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Rosepepe, a second by Councilmember Terneri. Yeah, you know, where I'm seeing us use this initially is the police officer recruitment. If this inspector position, we go a month or two and we don't get anything, you know, probably even a month. We've got, and we're not seeing the qualified applicants. I'd probably put it out there on that. Be an engineering position, a planner position. You know, those are the more difficult positions we've had historically in filling. So just kind of give you some parameters of what I'm thinking about as it relates to this this incentive. So Councilmember Rosepepe, you had your hand raised. Did I answer your question?
No, actually, Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment that strongly supporting this. We see that our neighboring cities are also using incentive programs for areas that are hard to recruit for. And I think that it's time that we move forward with that and get in the game, so to speak, because we've got a great city and we want good people working here. So appreciate it.
Thank you for that comment. Other comments? Councilmember Clausen.
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to raise the issue. When I read through the proposed resolution, and it indicated that we're going to be making amendments to the collective bargaining agreement, that suggests to me that this is going to go on at least until the next time we negotiate a contract, if not longer. And I raised the question whether or not this is something that we're doing to help recruit during these challenging times. And if in a year the hiring world changes and we want to revisit this, is that an interest for the council, or is everyone happy that we're going to adopt this and it's just going to be in place for, I guess, until we change it?
I'd like to see it reevaluated.
Okay. Mr. Lund, do you have a comment there?
Did you call on me, Mayor? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, since we wrote the staff report, I have had an opportunity to talk to our labor counsel from Summit Law and was advised that an MOU would likely not be necessary unless requested by the union. So I've been advised that I can simply put the union on notice that we want to make this program eligible to their members. Should they have any concerns about the way we're adopting it, then we might need an MOU. And the program as it's drafted and attached as an exhibit does allow the city to end it at any time at the discretion of the mayor.
And remember, you guys approved the budgets. So if I would say the first time we're going to need to check in on this is probably the end of the year, and whether or not you're going to fund it, and how many positions we're anticipating needing it for, because we're going to need a budget line item, I would believe. So I saw Councilmember Chang and then Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with the exhibit because when we discussed that work study, I thought it would pertain actually to all hires. And I'm very comfortable seeing that it's only for specific ones that the mayor has determined are hard to fill. And you've explained that that might be after a designated period of time. So I think there are already some checks in this, and I'm comfortable with supporting this.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Clausen?
Yeah, my only thought was that if we are going to enter into some type of an agreement with the collective bargaining unit, that we put a sunset to it, or at least a time that would be revisited so that it wouldn't just go on. Because once you provide that, it's very difficult through the collective bargaining process to take away something. And that would be, I think, considered a takeaway. So unless we entered into an MOU that specifically told them that this was going to be reevaluated in whatever period of time, so that they're aware of that going in, they may have a difficult time giving it up into the future.
And I appreciate the comment, but what I heard from Ms. Lund, our HR manager, is that we're likely not needing an MOU, but if we do, we'll definitely take your advice and craft language that allows us to claw this back. Other
Yeah, that
questions?
would be concern, is just to make sure that we put the union on notice somehow that this isn't a guaranteed permanent thing, that at some point it may be revisited. As you say, we have the control of the budget, but if there's a term in a collective bargaining agreement, you can't change that simply by not funding it.
I hear you. All right, other questions or comments? You'll be voting on the adoption of a resolution and establishing a referral incentive program for current staff members. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. We're at item G, adoption of a resolution renaming and designating the active club T-ball field to honor the late Richard Dick Lyle Tout Sr. Clerk Wallace, this is yours.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. On October 17, 2021, Mr. Showers and Mr. Martin, on behalf of the South Kitsap Western Little League, approached the city and is asking the City Council to name the Little League T-ball field behind the active club adjacent to the Art Michelson Memorial Field as the Dick Tate Memorial Field. Richard Dick Lyle Tate Sr. devoted his life to ensuring boys and girls had a wholesome program of service to the youth. He also was instrumental in helping through the Lions Club purchasing the bleachers for the T-ball field. This request was brought before the Land Use Committee on February 16, 2022, and they were supportive of the name change of the field or naming the field. If approved by the City Council, signs will be placed designating the name of the field, and it will be at the expense of the South Kitsap Western Little League. Staff recommends approving the resolution as presented, and I will share my screen to show the council and the members of the public what area we are referencing for this resolution. So it is, here is the active club, tennis courts, Tacoma Avenue. So it's this area here is what he's asking to be named to honor the late Mr. Tate Sr.
Councilmember Clausen.
Mr. Mayor, I've known Dick Tate for a number of years. Many years ago when I coached Little League Baseball at Western, Dick was involved in that baseball organization and has been supporting it for many years. So with that, it would be my honor to move to adopt a resolution naming and designating the Little League T-ball field behind the Active Club to adjacent to Art Michelson Memorial Field as the Dick Todd Memorial Field.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Clausen, a second by Councilmember Trenary. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Clausen, go ahead.
Yeah, just as a comment, and as the staff report indicated, Dick was very much involved through the Lions Club of making some pretty major improvements to that field with bleachers and some fencing and things of that nature. So, as I said, he's been very active in that youth organization for many years. So, I think this is a great tribute.
Wonderful. Other comments or questions? Hearing none, you'll be voting on a resolution renaming and designating the Active Club T-ball field to honor the late Dick Tout. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes unanimously. We're to item H, adoption of a resolution adopting operating procedures and policies and procedures for managing city records. Clerk Wallace, I would have thought I was reading a Mark Dorsey written thing there because I was tongue-tied with it, but actually this one was pretty easy. I don't know what the problem was. Clerk Wallace, go ahead.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council. In 2017, the City Council adopted by reference the General Records Retention Schedule and Records Retention Manual, which is approved by the Office of the Secretary of State of Washington's Local Records Committee. The manual identifies record types, but does not provide a policy on how local governments choose to manage the records to be in compliance. Staff has developed operating policies and procedures to ensure that city records are managed in accordance with the manual and advice sheets produced by the Washington State Archives. The policy that is before you is to include the process for disposing and archiving paper and electronic records, the process for destruction of non-archival paper records after imaging, which is known as scanning and tossing, and the process for documenting the destruction and archival transfer of records. Staff recommends adoption of this resolution, adopting the operating policies and procedures as presented.
Councilor Chang.
I move to adopt a resolution adopting operating policies and procedures for managing city records as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Chang, a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Are there any questions or comments for Clerk Greinerson? I see this is, go ahead, Mr. Trenary.
Yeah, Clerk Reinerson, do they actually officially call it scanning and tossing?
Yes, they do. That's the state terminology.
Interesting. Thanks for that.
I was scratching my head on that. I was hoping we were just going to scan them and put them in the shred bin and didn't have to throw them across the office, but you know.
Yeah, being I'm in that industry, we call it scanning and shredding. So I just wanted to get that clarification.
Yes, it is a scanning and tossing program.
All right.
By RCW.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, you'll be voting on the resolution adopting operating policies and procedures for managing city records. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. We're on to item I, adoption of a resolution granting final plat approval for McCormick Division West Division 2. Mr. Bond, this is yours.
Yes, good evening, council. On September 27th, 2021, McCormick Development Corporation submitted an application for final plat approval for the McCormick West Division 11 project. Additional materials were received through February 11th, 2022 to provide a complete application for the final plat. The Kitsap County Hearing Examiner granted preliminary approval with conditions on May 30th, 2008. Pursuant to WAC 197.11.630 and 965, Kitsap County issued a notice of adoption of an environmental document for this proposal. The McCormick West proposal was included with a group of projects known as the McCormick Urban Village under South Kitsap Urban Growth Area, ULID number 6, Supplemental Environmental Impact Statement, EIS. The ULID 6 EIS was issued on October 26, 2001, and the final EIS was issued on January 9th, 2022. The applicant for final plat submitted a request for an administrative minor plat amendment from the city, which was approved on February 12, 2021. The final plat for McCormick West Division 11 subdivision creates 99 single-family residential lots and 18 tracts consisting of future development tracts, open space, and storm drainage tracts, and a shared access and utility tracts. The applicant has installed or bonded for roadway illumination, roads, sidewalks, landscaping, water and sewer, and storm drainage improvements, and the city has received acceptable bonds guaranteeing completion of any improvements not yet complete. Streets within the final plat are for public use and will be accepted into the city's road system. And please note that the original staff report that went out in your packet included the incorrect lot count for this subdivision, and that was because there are divisions 11 and 12 are being developed together, and there was a gap in the parcel numbering where there was a lot 133, but there were missing some lots in the middle of that range, and those will be coming forward as part of McCormick West Division 12. The staff recommendation is the adoption of a resolution granting approval of the final plat of McCormick West Division 11.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt a resolution as presented granting final plat approval for McCormick West Division 11.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Clausen, a second by Councilmember Rosapepe. Are there any questions on this matter for Mr. Bond? Hearing none, we'll be voting on a resolution granting final plat approval for McCormick West Division 2. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the plat has been approved.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
you indicated Division 2, isn't that Division 11?
Well, you're right. It is Division 11. Thank you for that
For the
clarification.
record was straight. Thank you.
Yep. It's not Roman numerals. I read it as Roman numerals. All right. So we're on to item J, approval of amendment number 6 to contract number 054-18 with RH2 Engineering, Inc. for the Marina Pump Station Rebuild Project. Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you. On December 15th and December 22nd and December 29th, 2017, I think I was in high school back in 2017, the city's Public Works Department published a request for qualifications for the 30, 60, and 100% ad-ready design for the Marina Pump Station Rebuild Project. After a successful and complete procurement process, the city selected RH2 Engineering, Inc. as the most qualified consultant for the project. On July 18th, 2018, the Port Orchard City Council approved contract number C054-18 with RH2 Engineering, Inc. for the Marina Pump Station Rebuild Project, 30% design. Subsequent amendments are as follows. Amendment number 1, 2, and 2A were time-only extensions that are related to the Imagine Port Orchard Community Event Center, all that stuff down on the waterfront. Amendment number 3 was then taking the 30 to 100 or 80%, which added $627,000 of additional fee. And then Amendment 4 had to do with adding $14,000 for some geotech work that we did down and around the Marina Pump Station. And amendment number 5, again, was a time-only extension. Further amendment of the contract is now required to move the project through to the next phase. Therefore, amendment number 6 in the amount of an additional $679,025 will move the project through 100% ad-ready design and bid support for a total contract amount of basically 1.7 million. Please note that in an attempt to help manage the total project cost, which is now estimated at approximately 15 million, RH2 Engineering has removed and or reduced industry standard fees and markups and maintained their 2021 rates for the total reduction of about $97,000. And that table is attached for your review for under the fee adjustment. Additionally, the overall project design, permitting, and bid support phase cost of 1.7 million is 11% of the estimated total project cost of 15 million, which is also well within the industry standard. Typically, for a project as complicated as this, 13 to 15% is what you find. Future amendment number 7 with RH2 Engineering will provide for the construction engineering support, engineer of record services. The construction administration, construction management services provider have not yet been determined, but these associated costs are included within the estimated $15 million project costs. And the right now, RH2 is looking at about $364,000 to maintain their engineer of record, which for the Tremont project, if you remember, Berger ABAM provided that engineering support, and it was invaluable during the course of that 3-year construction. And the construction administration is estimated at about $600,000. But again, those are included in the total project cost of $15 million. And also remind you that under fiscal impact, we do have the $13 million loan from the Department of Ecology's 2019 Water Quality Combined Financial Assistance Program, and that we've also are allocating the 2.8 million for the ARPA grant funding to complete this project, and I believe that's been discussed previously. Therefore, staff recommends authorizing the mayor to execute amendment number 6 to contract number C054-18 with RH2 Engineering, Inc. for the Marina Pump Station rebuild project, getting us to the 100% ad-ready design and bid support in an amount not to exceed an additional $679,020 for bringing the total contract amount to basically 1.7 million.
Councilmember Lucarelli.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute amendment number 6 to contract number C054-18 with RH2 Engineering, Inc. for the Marina Pump Station rebuild project in the amount of $679,020, thereby bringing the total contract amount to $1,669,918.
Good.
I have a motion by Councilmember Lucarelli, a second by Councilmember Clausen. Councilmember Clausen, go ahead.
Just a clarification, did I hear correctly, Mark, that you were in high school in 2017?
Well, actually, I was in.
You were working for the city of Port Orchard in 2017.
His reform school.
Yeah, we was in reform school.
Yeah, I'm trying to not be as old as I really am. So.
Well, please don't do that, because I was in my 34th year as a council member in 2017. So you made me feel real old.
I think my beard is greater than yours, though.
Councilmember Lucarelli.
I'm not exactly sure, but I think that the third amendment, the 30 to 80% design, was read incorrectly, or on my sheet it was 726,789. I just want to read that for the record, because I believe a 600,000 amount was read.
Yeah, it's, if we go back to.
So which number is correct, Mark? 700 or 600? Because you read 600.
It's the 700.
Thank you for that catch, Cindy. He's an engineer. They don't do math.
I don't do math. I'm just looking at that one sheet, but yeah, it's amendment number 3 was 726, 789.
Okay, Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Mayor, I just want to make a comment for the public that this is, as we move forward in our infrastructure improvements, this is a major one. And getting us up to ad ready is going to be a great move forward as we take on more houses, more people, and improve our infrastructure program. So this is well done to Mark and the staff.
This is a must project.
Yeah, this pump station touches every single drop of waste from the city. Even the stuff that comes from the east, it comes back to this station and then back in. So this is it. This is the last stop before it heads to the treatment plant. And that big part of the design that drove some of these costs was the guarantee that, and how we got the $13 million in the loan was that we're removing the overflow. We've had very few, I think in the 15, 16 years I've been here, we've only had 2 overflow events. And I think they were both this last year. So that was part of the condition, is that we're designing the system such that that overflow is going to be removed. So we won't have spills.
Any other questions for Mr. Dorsey? You'll be voting on amendment amendment number 6 to contract number 54-18 with RH2 Inc. for the Marina pump station rebuild. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the contract amendment has been approved. We're to item K, approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Police Guild representing patrol officers regarding a recruitment incentive program for lateral peace officers. Chief Brown?
Yes, thank you, Council and Mayor. Forgive me, I'm a little bit, I got some allergies going, so if I sound a little weird, I apologize. So the Port Orchard Police Department has experienced a shortage of qualified peace officer candidates and desires to have more options available in its efforts to recruit and hire lateral peace officers. The department does not currently offer any hiring incentives for eligible candidates. This leaves the department as an outlier in Kitsap County, as other agencies offer monetary incentives and is directly affecting the ability to recruit. Lateral officers can be hired and operating independently in roughly 4 months, which is less than half the time required for a newly hired officer. To remain competitive, the department desires to establish a hiring incentive program consistent with its peers in the current job market. A memorandum of understanding has been prepared between the city and the Police Guild representing patrol officers to address the monetary incentive and initial leave balances for lateral police officer candidates possessing a valid Washington State Peace Officer certification. Staff recommends the council authorize the mayor to sign an MOU with the Police Guild representing patrol officers, approving a hiring incentive program for qualified lateral peace officer candidates in substantially the form of the MOU sent to you under privilege from the city attorney.
Is there a motion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe, go ahead.
Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Police Guild representing patrol officers pertaining to a hiring incentive program for qualified lateral peace officer candidates.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Rosa Pepe, second by Councilmember Trenary. Are there any comments or questions? Councilmember Lucarelli, go ahead. I see your hand
Well,
raised.
I have some concerns about the amount of money that was being used as an incentive. So last week I sought some answers and I feel more comfortable now moving forward with this. I do kind of question why we're calling this position a peace officer position. When did that change? Can you comment on that?
Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, so that's the name of the certification through the state.
Peace officer is the same as a regular police officer, or is there something different about that?
Nope, there's no difference. That's the name of the certification through the state.
Has that always been the case?
I believe at least since I was hired in early 2000, yes.
It's a term that I haven't heard used much, so
Okay.
thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Councilmember Trenary.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask and confirm for the public and myself as well that there is a sunset clause in this, and it's only going to be used until we get fully staffed. Is that correct?
Well, yes. I mean, we're only, as soon as, we can only use it for openings in the police department. And,
Right.
you know, as the staff report indicates, we save the cost of the academy, which is roughly $5,000. And we pay their wages while they attend the academy. So there's pretty significant savings and benefit to our community to move somebody in as a lateral versus, you know, hiring a green officer off the street. So I don't, there isn't intended to be a sunset to this. I mean, you could always put one onto it, but as we fill these positions, there won't be a need. If we don't have a job opening, we can't offer an incentive. And I hope to get to a point where we don't have to offer any incentives because we've got a fully staffed police department.
As we all do. Thank you.
And so I'm going to call on Human Resources Manager Lund, and then Councilmember Rosapepe, and then Councilmember Clausen.
Walking a little bit of a fine line because this isn't a public document until adopted, but the document that was sent to you under privilege very clearly has a sunset clause to it, allows us to stop with 30 days written notice.
Go ahead, Chief.
And just to address the timeline issue, so if we were to hire a lateral peace officer, they could be on the street in as soon as 12 to 18 weeks from the date of hire. It's generally 48 to 52 weeks for a brand new peace officer to start.
And I stand corrected about the ability to turn it off. So we can turn it off in 30 days notice, but I wouldn't intend to turn it off until we've got a full staff. And we'll hire either laterals or, you know, brand new off the street officers, but there's definitely benefit to us now to them to come join us from another community. Councilmember Rosapepe.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the council, has taken 2 steps to fully staff our police department, one with the additional FTEs and also with the lateral recruitment. So thanks to the council, and we're expecting great things from our police department as usual. Chief, I know you said this before, and I apologize for asking it again. What is the probationary period for a peace officer?
So for lateral peace officers, it's a year from the day that they are hired, and for brand new officers, it's a year from the day they graduate the academy.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, mine, the HR Director Lund answered part of my question, but the other one was just more of a comment that I hope that we don't use this exclusively for filling our vacancies, that we are able to hire some new officers so that we can bring in new blood to the system. One of the challenges with laterals is that you are bringing someone in who has already spent a portion of their career in law enforcement, and we may not have them for as long as you may a new recruit. So I'm supportive of this program by all means, but I hope that it's not looked at as the silver bullet that's going to cure our problem forever.
I hear you, and we have a lot of brand new officers, and we could use a few seasoned folks but because we've hired a lot of brand new green officers. And go ahead, Chief Brown.
Yeah, I was just going to address some of those concerns. So the lateral hires that we are hoping to attract and that we have seen not only coming to us, but to our other regional partners are generally in the 3 to 5 year range. not necessarily people that are, deep into their career. But what I can tell the council is that we will be always hiring the correct people for this department. Whether they are new, whether they have tenure, but they're going to be the ones that bring the right qualities to our department so that we are always improving.
I was concerned just because, in our previous discussions, we had this deficit in the police department that we're trying to fill, and this is a way that we can fill it rather quickly. But long term, there's pros and cons to laterals. So that's all.
You are correct.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, you'll be voting on the approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Police Guild representing patrol officers regarding a recruitment incentive program for lateral peace officers. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the MOU has been approved. We are to item L. And when we get to item L, we have touched every department and now the city attorney with this agenda. So item L is approval of an agreement with Kitsap Homes of Compassion for affordable housing funding. Ms. Archer, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Before you this evening are two agreements back to back, the first of which is with Kitsap Homes of Compassion for the use of your affordable housing funding that comes to you via Senate Substitute House Bill 1406, which was adopted in 2019. That funding is available for the city to utilize for affordable or supportive housing efforts in your city or with partner agencies. In 2020, the city went through a process to evaluate proposals to utilize these funds. And at that time, you selected Kitsap Community Resources Housing Solutions Center. And that entity was unable to utilize all the allocated funds within the extended contract term. So those funds reverted back to your general fund. Since that time, the city has worked to identify other partners to utilize those funds. And when I say the city, I mean the mayor has actively worked to try to identify partners for those funds. Kitsap Homes of Compassion is a qualified nonprofit organization with an established program to provide affordable and supportive housing to low-income residents of Port Orchard, has been identified as one potential partner. That entity is seeking funding from you as follows. $1,000 per month for the next year to support the operations and maintenance costs of new units of supportive housing in 3 of their facilities that are located within the city of Port Orchard, and $600 per month as rental assistance for one eligible tenant in a supportive housing facility that this entity operates located within the city of Port Orchard. Staff then negotiated an agreement with Kitsap Homes of Compassion for the city's participation in this program to provide affordable housing, as I just described. And so by this action, you would be authorizing the city to enter into that interlocal agreement with this entity for allocation of the funding. The total amount of funding for this entity based on those parameters would be $43,200. And that would be reimbursement based. So the entity would submit for reimbursement on a monthly or however often they seek reimbursement for the funds utilized. And the staff would receive adequate documentation to verify that those funds would be used for affordable housing purposes in compliance with the House bill. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilor Shang.
I wanted to make a motion. I move to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Kitsap Homes of Compassion for the use of Substitute House Bill 1406 funding in the amount of $43,200 for affordable housing.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilor Chang, a second by Councilmember Clausen. Do you have any questions for myself or Ms. Archer? Go ahead, Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, just the way that the staff report is written, it's not terribly clear in my mind. We are providing $1,000 per month to support the operation and maintenance cost of all 3 of the potential units.
$1,000
per unit?
per house.
It could be $3,000 a
Per
month if they do the three.
If they
And
Correct.
we are also committing to $600 per month for rental assistance for each tenant.
No, for one tenant.
So how this is envisioned is the folks that they will be housing will qualify for, I think it's SSI benefits, roughly $800 a month. Okay, and some of the folks out there camping or living in their car need assistance getting to their SSI benefits to fill out the paperwork and get qualified for the benefits that they're likely entitled to. So one of the beds in any one of these facilities is going to be for someone working through that process, because it takes many months of government bureaucracy to get your benefits approved and start receiving your checks that will then help pay for your housing. So we're funding part of this housing. The tenant's benefit check pays for part of the housing, and we're funding a bed to get somebody off the street that hasn't been able to get their assistance checks that they're likely entitled to.
So it's the $600 per bed.
For one bed. It's one bed. So we're going to fund, they're going to have one person that's in process that, and then once that person gets to where they're paying their own way, we can move on to another person that they'll fund for that process.
Okay, so out of the three new facilities, there will be one bed set aside for these folks who are in process, as you put it.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
we hope that they're going to get 3 or 4 bedroom houses. If we're lucky enough to get 4 bedroom houses, we're going to house 12 people, and one of those 12 beds will have this benefit that we're funding.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
So the total amount will be $36,000 for operations and maintenance of the 3 houses, and $7,200 for that rental assistance for that year term. That's how it's broken down.
Other questions or comments? All right, we got a motion on the floor and to approve an agreement with Kitsap Homes of Compassion for affordable housing funding. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none. This is I think a huge moment for our community that we're actually funding some beds in our community. And I hope to find more opportunities like this to help folks out in our community. Thank you for your support in this. We're to item M now. Approval of an agreement with Kitsap, Housing Kitsap for affordable housing funds. Ms. Archer, this is you again.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Before you this evening, as our second agreement using the SHB 1406 funding, is an agreement with Housing Kitsap for their affordable housing program. The entity, which is a qualified nonprofit organization that operates in the city, has an established program to provide grants and loans to low-income households that meet the parameters of the SHB 1406 funding, which is that 60% medium income level or below, in Kitsap County for rehabilitation of existing affordable housing. The program's detailed plan was provided by the entity and is attached to the proposed agreement. We negotiated that agreement to allow the city's participation in the program, subject to specific parameters, one of which is the funding will be for grants and not for loans, and the funding will go to low-income households in the city of Port Orchard. The total amount sought is $41,700 for the rehabilitation of existing affordable housing units. And the agreement is attached to the staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions about this one as well.
Councilmember Clausen.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Housing Kitsap for the use of the SHB 1406 funding in an amount of $41,700 for affordable housing.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Clausen, second by Councilmember Lucarelli. And Councilmember Chang asked me some questions earlier today, and just for the record, yes, this is a grant. These aren't loans. We are fixing up low-income individuals in our communities' homes that have leaky roofs or need their deck repaired or need a handicap ramp. It really doesn't say how many houses we're fixing. The goal is that Housing Kitsap identified 3 houses, and that they're estimates. And until we go out to bid and we know what the construction world's like out there, we hope that we're able to do these 3. Maybe this money will stretch a little farther. They have a longer list than we're funding here with this, but I thought this was an appropriate bite out of the nearly $100,000 that we've got sitting in our 1406 account. Other questions or comments? Councilmember Shang?
Yes, I think this is certainly a worthy organization, and I like what they do for housing. I do have heartburn over this particular agreement because it is providing grants and not loans, and it seems to be only 3 individuals' households. I do personally have heartburn with providing these funds for privately owned property, so I will not be voting for this item.
Appreciate your comment there. And it is about keeping low-income folks in their homes is what this is really about. So, all right, other comments or questions? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor to approve for the approval of an agreement with Housing Kitsap for affordable housing funding. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And opposed?
Nay.
So we have, this passes 4-1. We are to our last item of the evening, last business item anyway, approval of the February 8th, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. And I believe I'll have an abstention by Councilmember Lucarelli. Is there a motion to approve? Go ahead, Councilmember Clausen.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the council meeting minutes for the February 8th, 2022 meeting.
I'll second those.
Okay. Councilmember Clausen approved or made the motion, and we have a second by Councilmember Terneri. Any corrections or comments about the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving those February 8th minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And 1 abstention? Okay. And we have our next is our standing items, Veterans Park, and I believe that Ms. Archer has an update, and I've got a little bit more information. We've been talking quite a bit about this matter. So go ahead.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. I wanted to give you a brief update. We've received some additional information from the county after the last presentation and session we had at our last full council meeting. We followed up with a letter to Director Wisniewski, who spoke at our last council meeting, laying out our continued expectations for a more hastened timeline for cleanup of both trash and the RV that's located at the south end that is becoming a large encampment in and unto itself. Director Wisniewski has offered some specifics, but also still some question marks remain, so we'll discuss both. The RV is, I think, positive news. Director Wisniewski indicated that the county's legal team has confirmed that the muffler shop does not have an easement or a need for access, which we had conveyed to them that was the case. And so they are able and in a position now to barricade off, beginning at Southeast Mile Hill Drive, that turn-off area so that no longer are vehicles accessing that space. And the muffler shop has access directly onto Southeast Mile Hill, so they do not need that point of access either. They are working with the sheriff's office to notice and have the RV removed, and then they will place the blocks. We don't have a specific timeline for that, but they've cleared that legal hurdle that Director Wisniewski referenced in his last presentation. We also understand that unclear if it's in partnership with the county or just sort of sua sponte on their own, an entity called Agape Unlimited, which is a nonprofit organization out of Bremerton that works with the unhoused population, were contacting the RV's owner today, and the code enforcement officer observed them on site, trying to give that RV gas to exit voluntarily, because the owner of the RV has indicated that they are out of gas, and that is why they are there. I know that our law enforcement have also offered gas in the past, so unclear whether Agape Unlimited had any success today, but we do know that the sheriff's office and the county are coming soon to remove that RV. The trash issue remains a concern, but Director Wisniewski has indicated that the sorting pile, the existing sorting pile, has now been cleared. The county continues to, not point the finger is the wrong word, but continues to point out that waste management has parameters with regards to the removal of trash and the inclusion of prohibited items in their trash dumpsters as a basis for leaving trash on the ground. But Director Wisniewski has indicated or has acknowledged that our message is that trash is not to be sorted on site and on the ground. So they're trying to make arrangements because Waste Management has again told them absolutely not, the dumpsters are not to house certain items. So they are in a bit of a pickle, but they understand that trash sorting and trash being on the ground is not acceptable. Another point of positive news, they are in interviews for the Heart Service Coordinator position. You'll recall from the timeline we saw in December that the hiring of that individual was the trigger point for the rest of the encampment cleaning efforts. However, Director Wisniewski also commented that they are trying to work with the Sheriff's Department to hasten implementation of the plan in advance of hiring the Heart Coordinator. So that may not be on hold any longer, according to what was conveyed. And I think that's it as far as details. The code enforcement officer was back out today, as she is quite frequently. And I know law enforcement has been visiting the RV and other spots quite frequently as well. There have been some law enforcement incidents recently at the park, including some sort of altercation this weekend that led to, I believe, a documented incident of some sort. So we continue to put on the pressure, and we will have a more lengthy conversation about this when we at our next full council meeting, as far as next steps as we reassess what the county has actually done as far as implementation of this plan.
I'll just add that I've been in communication with the executive director at the health district, and he and Dr. Morrow, and in the past it's been their staff, but he and Dr. Morrow actually visited the site, and I believe with Commissioner Garrido, and delivered a message that about the trash needing to be not put on the ground at all. It can't be there. It needs to be cleaned up daily. If this trash was at, this problem existed at Councilmember Terneri's business, and the health district was involved in it, Mr. Terneri, for his non-compliance, would be getting fined $500 a day. And I intend, if we don't have satisfactory action by our next health board meeting, to bring it up as potentially at the good of the order of the meeting. That it bothers me that when government entities have rules that apply to the Joe citizen or business, but don't enforce it upon themselves, or don't abide by the same rules. And I've got serious heartburn with that, and tend to voice that concern. The health district's in a funny place because their largest, who pays for the majority of the health district's operation is the county. And, three of their 7 board members are the county commissioners. So it is a bit sticky, and their legal counsel happens to be Kitsap County. So, but it doesn't help. I'm still going to raise the issue. So Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Thank you, Mayor. And to my fellow council members, please just indulge me for a second. I think my concerns that the council has expressed repeatedly with the county, and as you've mentioned, Mayor, and Charlie also, is the fact that we still don't have a viable schedule from the county to when they, are going to resolve some of these issues. It seems to be ad hoc. 2, that the amount of staff time that we're adding to it causes us problems because of the fact that our code enforcement officer is not doing things that she should be doing in normal course of her business. And you also mentioned that again previously, Mayor. And I'm also lack of county resources and the reliability on volunteer and nonprofit organizations. They really haven't put much skin in the game, so to speak. And at some point in time, I'm afraid that we're going to end up putting some skin in the game, some money into it to get this cleaned up before it becomes a major health hazard. And that's my concern with our water source. That's my comments, and thank you for indulging me.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to your comments, Mayor, and that the health district's concern is the trash that's around there. And I would hope that it would go beyond trash. Some of the issues that have been reported is the 5-gallon buckets of human waste and how that is impacting the stream and potentially the wellhead. So I hope you were suggesting for the only, but I'm sure that there are others as well.
Yeah, there's a litany of health and safety concerns, but the most pressing is the trash. That, you know, they have put porta potties in there, whether people are using them or not, you know, time will tell. But the glaring thing, you know, from a rodent causing the rodent infestation, you know, is the trash, and so that's why that was particular issue is of particular concern.
I just don't want to lose sight that there's more than just the trash as an issue.
Yeah, so we know there's illicit discharge coming from the motorhome. We hope there's some resolution coming to that. And, you know, our code enforcement action can only really be limited to the health and safety aspect of this. And you've heard me preach to this, and I preached today at a speaking engagement. If you don't solve the root problem of this, you're just pouring money into a problem that isn't being resolved. But we don't have a lot of power, if any, as it relates to the encampment. It's the health and safety issues that we're beating the drum on and have to be resolved, and we're going to make them be resolved. Other comments, questions? Okay, I'm going to move on here. We're going to go to council committee reports. I know that the utility committee met here recently. Has it been since our last council meeting? I don't recall.
Yes, it has. And we were notified of the 2021 water quality report that Port Orchard meets and exceeds all the federal and state drinking water standards again. Well 11 was commented on, an $8 million project. We received a drinking water state revolving fund contribution loan funded at $8,080,000. So we're going to be moving forward with that. We'll advertise in the fourth quarter of this year to get going on that. The Marina pump station, as we've already discussed, the $15 million project is going to be about a 1.5-year construction. And we can't wait for that to get going, but we do have some needs to deal with the seawall that needs some work and some shoreline adjustments. We also covered the Foster pilot project, always a concern of ours because it deals with water rights and our ability to pump water from the wells that we've actually planned for. Not much is known yet. It's at a standstill, but we're hoping for more information by the end of the year. The Splash Pad Retrofit. I'm not sure if this was discussed in other committees, but we talked about it. Mccormick Woods, we are going to go ahead this summer with that splash pad as is. We'll be using new water through the summer, but we are going ahead with 2 phases of purchasing the supplies and materials so that at the end of the summer in September-ish, we'll be able to move forward with the recycle project that will save us a lot of money in the future. Another thing was McCormick Water Campus. The 660 reservoir design is at 60% and or will be. And we looked at an elevated tank design, which is pretty cool looking. And that's pretty much the covering the utilities. Our next meeting is April 12th.
All right, thank you for your report. Finance Committee met last week, and I think we approved about half of what you guys talked about last week, but I think there was a few other things.
Well, there was a few, and as our normal monthly agenda, we go over the sales tax and the refunding receipts. Sales tax for the council's benefit is continuing to come in healthy. Now, granted, this is only 1 month, so don't start planning your Christmas shopping list yet. But right now, we're about 33% over our budgeted amount, which is better than being in the negative. The REIT funding, although it's a smaller dollar amount, it's still in the plus category as well. So we're doing fine from that standpoint. The other thing we went over was all of our fund balances, and all of the fund balances are strong and healthy. And in fact, we planned, as you may remember, to put annual contributions into our stabilization funds, but we are at the point where NOAA went ahead and just funded pretty much the year's allotment to those stabilization funds. So we're fully funded, if you will, for what we had planned. So that's all good news. As the mayor indicated, we went over pretty much everything that we approved tonight with the positions that we talked about, the budget amendments and things of that nature. We did have a discussion the mayor shared over some issues with the community event center that I'm not sure if you shared at the last work study or will be at a future work study. Has to do basically with reviewing the seawall that's there now. We also had a brief discussion and the comparative chart presented to us on all the different utility taxes that the city currently has imposed, and how that compares to some of the neighboring jurisdictions, Gig Harbor, Bremerton, Paulsville, and so on. We also had a short discussion about park impact fees and where we are in that case. So that pretty much wraps up what we talked about at the Finance Committee. But as I said, most of what we talked about was approved here tonight.
And that utility tax discussion will surface itself at the retreat. I'm working on some recommendations for that. Finance gave some recommendations, and then I will bring that forward there. And I can't remember, Mr. Bond, did we already approve that contract for the seawall or not? Or is that coming next month?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I need to look.
So
Let me look
anyway,
into it. It may have slipped through the cracks for tonight. I think it will come forward on the 8th if it hasn't already.
yeah, I'm questioning whether it did because we just talked about it a week ago. And in a nutshell, when the bank sits on that seawall, we want to be able to, until the shoreline restoration happens, leave the seawall there and put an observation platform on it. We need to make sure that the bank building isn't what's holding the seawall up, so that the first storm comes along and it topples over and compromises the foundation of the new building. So I think it was $25,000 to have an engineering firm come in and look at the seawall and make sure that it's sound and we'll be able to use it for a few years in the way we intend to. So that was
Mr. Mayor, I'd also add that part of the utility tax discussion was that there are citizens in the city that are paying a utility tax, and then there are other citizens in our city that are not paying our utility tax. And in particular, those who are being served by other utilities like West Sound and or the city of Bremerton. If they're being served by either of those two utilities, the city does not impose a tax on them that we do with the rest of our citizens. So there will be some more discussion about that, whether we should be extending our utility tax to all of our citizens in Port Orchard.
Yeah, that equity piece, we talked about that. And then what other opportunities exist to maybe fund transportation or in particular street preservation and maintenance. So, all right, Transportation Committee.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you skipped over economic development and tourism.
Did I? I did. So what you can give both those reports then.
Okay. Economic development and tourism met on Monday, the 14th of February. And we elected Mark Trenari as chair, and he graciously accepted on the condition that he not give this particular report. So I'm doing it instead of the prior chair, Sean, who's out tonight. We heard from POBSA board member Samantha Thomas-Smith, who wanted to be more involved with the events, and we agreed that she could certainly be more involved through that committee. She had concerns about some of the events that impacted parking for a lot of the stores. And so this was certainly something that we're happy to hear, well, not happy to hear, but we were happy that she was able to tell us about that. We heard about the Crown Castle cell tower lease, which is also discussed in land use, and that will be coming before the council. They're basically expanding their footprint with the generator, or that's what they want to do. And then we heard about the projected population growth, which we heard at the last work study, and also a building permits report from the development director. And those are always very inspiring and impressive. He has quite a good count of the population that's coming to the city over the next 5 years. Then before this meeting tonight was the Transportation Committee meeting. Basically, we had updates on various current projects, including an ADA transition plan, which will be coming before the council soon. We had a discussion on notification to residents and the C-Click Fix app. And we decided that the current notifications are certainly adequate, but there may always be room to improve. The last item was the Transportation Improvement Project or TIP update. And that will also be coming before council with some amendments. I think that was it.
Thank you for your report. Is there
Mayor?
anything? Yes, sir.
If I may, Councilmember Chang just reminded me at our Finance Committee, we also elected the chair, and I drew the short straw on that one. So I'm currently here, will continue to be the chair. And we also agreed that the Finance Committees will continue to meet on that third Tuesday of each month prior to the work study.
There's a movement afoot, I believe, for the Transportation Committee to meet a half an hour earlier at 4:30, but we'll confirm with the one member who wasn't there before that meeting is moved and report it to the clerk's office. So chimes and lights, is there anything to report?
Yes, actually, we had a robust meeting today on discussion about events in particular. Huge concern about from event organizers about the obstacles in Port Orchard, about having events anymore. This will be brought up at our retreat on the 11th. Quite a few specific things we'll be bringing up. Back to the chimes and lights, December 3rd in person, Scottish Christmas emphasis this year, and we'll have just about everything that we used to have except no run or rides in the midst of it, and we're working on getting our event permit filed and ready, but there should be quite a lot. We expect a fairly good turnout this year. So that's it for the moment. The next meeting on that one is going to end up being March 21st. Oops.
Thank you for your report. Land use, I think you met last week.
We did, and I'll just tell you what we talked about since the chair is out. We discussed the comprehensive plan, which we also mentioned in work study, and also population projections and allocations. Also the cell tower. And the only difference with the cell tower discussion is there was concern if it went up in height, if they added other vendors, which they can certainly do. And the chair, the chair is Scott Diener. He said that he would be happy to look over any agreement for that. We discussed the Little League T-ball field naming, which we spoke about tonight. And then we had a discussion on the tiny home zoning, and it is already covered in our current zoning. And we believe that if there should be an applicant, there is a path forward for them.
Just one correction there on that cell tower is they can't, that application isn't to increase the height of it, and they couldn't increase the height of it without completely rebuilding it. But there is opportunity for them, and that's part of this generator system, is they would like to pursue other providers to go on the tower with the current provider that's on it. So, and we would encourage that. Sewer Advisory Committee, I believe that met here this last week too.
We actually did, and it wasn't verified who the chair would be yet. That was something that was sort of overlooked. My apologies on that one. We talked about the shuttles replacement moving forward. It's equipment that we'll be having in place next year, usually probably around January. And the shuttles centrifuge is a machine that applies centrifugal force to separate liquids from solids, and the solids are then hauled away. So they're looking forward to this new piece of equipment, but because of the supply chain issues, we won't see it until the beginning of next year. Also, we discussed the nutrient and general permit. That's basically effective this year, more frequent sampling to check on the nutrients within the outfall, and there's some frustration there because the labs are not able to keep up with the new requirements, and a lot of frustration about sending in samples that don't get tested, or the results getting back in time and having to repeat the process. The plant actually got an outstanding performance award, and 125 plants out of 300 receive awards, and our plant has continuously been getting these awards, so we're very proud of them. Marina Pump Station, and we've talked about it so much tonight that I don't think I need to add anything more. Our next meeting is May 18th.
Cindy, has there been any discussion at SAC? I know that Bremerton and other communities are pursuing litigation against the state, and is our plant jumping on the bandwagon with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. They have written letters, and I don't know exactly where they are because they haven't reported recently, but they're working to push back on some of those new requirements.
Is it gone as far as to hire legal counsel?
John, do you remember?
Okay.
I don't think so.
I don't think that they got into that much detail with it, that they were going to file suit or not.
Okay.
Right.
Other
I'll find out more at the next meeting, though.
Yeah, other communities are. So I'm just.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? It's so bad that for reports, after they filed them, the entities are still calling them to find out what the results were because there's so much paperwork and they can't get through it. So they actually have to give a verbal report after they sent in, and there's all these deadlines. It's actually very stressful.
Sounds like a mess.
Yep.
All right, outside agencies. This is where I miss Beck because she did some of that stuff, and she's still doing some of that stuff, but she's not here. So I might have to get a written report from her and report on the RPTO. But the health board met today. I thought the coolest thing on the agenda was an agreement with the city of Port Orchard for the rehab funds that board approved already. So, and we approved it tonight. So we're off and running with that. There were other things about procurement and HR stuff, but the cool thing was the agreement with the city of Port Orchard. And I offered to recuse myself and they said, no, you have to make the motion. So I did. Councilor Clausen.
Mr. Mayor, I would only report that the PRTPO that the body elected Beck Ashby as the chair of that committee for another term. So she, and then the vice chair is Commissioner Randy Netherthumb Mason, and the treasurer is I forget his first name, Warren Shorman from Port Angeles is the secretary.
All right. Sounds like I got a call on you.
No,
Back for
I only reported on the election, not the rest of the items.
All right. All right. The council retreat is coming quickly. It's March 11th, 9 a.m. to 3. Sophie and I are working hard on the agenda for this fabulous meeting. Brandy is going to get us some pastries from Nostalgia House. We'll have some tea and coffee in the morning. We're leaning towards Peninsula Beverage catering or bringing in lunch, box lunches. So we'll be sending out a menu here soon for your lunch selection. And that's all I've got on that. Last council meeting, Councilmember Clausen made a request for our city attorney to research opportunities related to the new transportation package. And I thought it would be more appropriate as soon as the session's over here in a few weeks to have our lobbyist actually do that, because he's the one that's been immersed in that. So I'll task him with that as soon as he's got some time to breathe, which should be happening here in a couple of weeks, provided they end on time at the legislature. So, and then my last item on the mayor's report, actually I got two. One is personnel updates. I need to report to you changes in personnel policies, and I've got a couple here, just updated job descriptions, one for our assistant city engineer and the others for our public works sewer coordinator and water coordinator. I reviewed both of those today and approved them. And the union had already, the second two, the water and sewer coordinators are actually union positions, and the union has already concurred with those changes to the job description. And then COVID, maybe someday we'll quit talking about it, but you know, a month ago, we were at over 1,400 cases per 100,000. And it's been dropping quickly. Over the weekend, it was 300 per 100,000. And I just checked it here at the beginning of our meeting, and we're at 185 per 100,000. So it's dropping very quickly. The governor has the indoor mask requirements being lifted as of the 21st. We're going to talk about this tomorrow morning at the managers meeting, but that's likely the day we're going to pick to invite our staff members to at least coming back into the office one day a week, and likely more than that shortly thereafter. But we're going to start transitioning to more and more people back in the office here now that maybe this is finally behind us. And I hope it's going to become an endemic like they've been talking about, and not the pandemic we've been dealing with. So that is the end of my report. Anything for the good of the order? Councilmember Chang, go ahead.
Just two quick items. First is that the severe weather shelter at the corner of Sydney and Kitsap Streets is open tonight and will be open through Friday. This shelter has enough volunteers to open that many days. The other shelters throughout the county do not. So they're not always announcing them until the day to see if they have enough volunteers. And the second item is that there is going to be a point in time count of the homeless on Thursday. And volunteers will be meeting here at City Hall in the lobby at 5:45 a.m.
Oh, that's AM.
Yeah. Well, it's still dark. Yeah. And that's it.
Okay. Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
If we're following orders, did I miss something about the second citizen comment period?
Oh my goodness, you're right. What a man. Well, we haven't gotten to it yet. I guess, and I skipped over the directors too.
Yes, you did.
My goodness. What's wrong with me? It was all these items we had on the business items. How about we go back to the directors and then we have citizen comments? And we'll make Tony Lang from Public Works. I think it's he and Angela, the only two holdouts. So Clerk Reinerson, or excuse me, Clerk Wallace.
Clerk Wallace should charge you $1 every time.
That's all right. I've definitely been called worse, so I think we're good. I don't have anything else to report.
So one of the things that was instituted at one of my other board meetings is, people that forget to mute themselves, it's $1. So they're talking, you have to remind them, hey, hey, Mark, you need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. So anyway, instead of a swear cup, it's a you didn't unmute yourself buck or cup. So anyway, Chief Brown.
Not much tonight, but I just really appreciate the council's support. This is a pretty big night for us, and I'm excited to see what it brings. So thank you.
Us too. Mr. Dorsey?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Okay. Snow. It's cold enough to snow in my office.
That was snow at my house this morning. So.
Mr. Bond?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Ms. Archer?
Nothing to report as well. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Lund?
Nothing from me tonight either. Thank you.
Wow, that's a first. You always got something in HR. All right, Mr. Crocker.
I'll just briefly mention that we are hopeful that we have filled one of our vacant positions, and she'll be starting March 9th. So excited to have a new employee coming on board.
Okay, that's all of our directors, and I see 2 attendees. And one is Tony Lang from Public Works, and the second is our building official, Angela Garcia. So if either one of them wants to raise their hand and provide public comment, we're here to listen. And neither one of them is raising their hand. So I will close the second citizen comment period and return to good of the order. Any other last minute? Go ahead, Jay.
First of all, I'll send you the $20 that I owe you for not unmuting myself over the past council meetings. Again, this is for the public, and I appreciate the council's indulgent. This goes back to our February 8th meeting, citizen comment. Just a reminder, just reminding the public about why we're not meeting at council chambers is one, because of COVID, but as COVID goes down, and thank you for those numbers, Mayor, we realize that we've been receiving, more people have been watching us and attending us while we're doing the webinar. And as soon as we get up and running with our hybrid system, we will be meeting back in chambers for people to attend, but we can get the word out better with webinars. And I do appreciate that, but the public is more than welcome to attend our meetings on the webinar.
Yes, thank you for that. Councilmember Clausen.
Not wanting to get fined $1, I had to make sure and unmute myself. I thought it would be appropriate that I could share with the council that Kitsap Transit was notified here recently that the federal government awarded us $7.7 million towards the construction of an all-electric ferry boat that will operate between Port Orchard and Bremerton. So
very nice.
With the funding that the state has included in the transportation package, if that gets approved, then it will be fully funded and we'll be able to move forward with not only the construction of the vessel, but also the infrastructure improvements in both Port Orchard and Bremerton to be able to recharge the vessel each time it comes to one of those docks. So I thought it was exciting.
Cool stuff. Just piling on to Jay's comment about meeting and I'm going to add this as a retreat topic. Just, I know we want to do the hybrid meeting for the council for sure the business items, but I'd like to have some discussion with the council in your direction. Do we keep our committees virtual? Is the work study, since we're not taking public comment, is that is a virtual meeting better? So just like to talk about those things and those options with all of you and get your feedback. So that I've got that on the agenda too. Anything else for the good of the order? Last call. Well, considering everything we had on the agenda, 8:15 is a successful night. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks back here on Zoom.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.